There is a cat that has been watching you. Not all cats, not every stray you've walked past, but one specific cat. If you've ever had this happen, you know exactly what I'm describing. You walk the same route, past the same alley, and one day a cat that has never acknowledged your existence looks up. Something changes. It follows you half a block, and it appears the next morning in the same spot. Within 2 weeks, it is sitting outside your door. Most people call this luck, a friendly stray, or a cat that just happened to be social. That is not what is happening. What that cat did was make a calculated decision based on weeks of observation, behavioral assessment, and a risk evaluation process. Researchers are only beginning to understand this. You did not find that cat. That cat selected you. The criteria it used are far more specific, far more deliberate, and in some ways far more unsettling than most people ever consider. Welcome back. If you're new here, subscribe before you leave. What you're about to learn will permanently change the way you interpret every interaction you've ever had with a stray cat. If you've ever been chosen by one, you're about to find out exactly what you did to earn it. Today we're going into the selection process, the mechanism behind why a feral or stray cat chooses a specific human out of everyone it observes. What that choice actually means from a behavioral and cognitive standpoint. Stay until the end, because the last thing we cover involves research published in the past decade that reframes what we thought we understood about feral cat cognition entirely. The answer is not what most people imagine. Let's start with what the cat knows before you know it exists. The cat has been watching you for longer than you realize. This is the part that surprises people most when they learn it. The moment a stray or feral cat appears to notice you for the first time is almost never the first time it has noticed you. Urban feral cats maintain detailed observational records of their environment, including the humans who move through it regularly. Research using remote camera systems in urban feral cat territories has documented that cats actively monitor human behavioral patterns. They track which individuals appear consistently, at what times, along which routes, and with what behavioral signatures. A cat that lives near your commute route has likely observed you dozens of times before you registered its existence. It knows your approximate schedule. It knows whether you move fast or slow. It knows whether you look at it when you pass or stare straight ahead. It knows whether your body posture is tense or relaxed. It has been building a profile. This is not anthropomorphism. This is documented predator cognition applied to a novel environment. Feral cats are ambush hunters, and their survival depends on accurate behavioral prediction. They extend that same predictive apparatus to everything in their territory, including you. By the time a cat makes its first visible approach, it has already run an assessment. Most people never get credit for passing it. You passed a test you didn't know you were taking. Research on human feral cat dynamics identified specific behavioral markers that correlate with approach behavior. The findings are precise enough to be uncomfortable. Cats are significantly more likely to initiate contact with humans who do not initiate contact first. The instinct to approach, reach out a hand, or make a sound is exactly the behavior to avoid. Cats read direct approach as threat behavior. It maps onto predator movement patterns in a way that triggers avoidance regardless of your intent. The humans cats select are almost always the ones who ignored them, not the tense, deliberate ignoring of someone trying not to scare it, as cats read that too. The ignoring that works is genuine disinterest, the behavioral signature of a non-threat. Relaxed posture, indirect gaze, and consistent, predictable movement. No sudden changes in behavior when the cat is nearby. In other words, you behaved like a safe element of the environment. You didn't charm the cat. You just passed as non-threatening long enough for it to consider you. Now the selection process moves into territory that is harder to explain. The cat is not just looking for safety. It is looking for consistency. This distinction matters, as safety is just a minimum threshold. Once a human clears the threshold of non-threatening, something more specific determines the approach. Feral and stray cats demonstrate a measurable preference for behavioral predictability in the humans they allow into their social radius. Research on colony cats in managed programs found that cats distinguish between regular caretakers and irregular visitors. Regular caretakers, who appear at predictable times, are approached more closely and tolerated at shorter distances. Irregular visitors, even when generous with food, are treated with significantly more caution. The cat is not selecting the person who is kindest. It is selecting the person who is most legible. A legible human is one whose behavior can be modeled and whose patterns can be learned. They represent a stable, foreseeable element in an environment full of variables the cat cannot control. If a cat has chosen you, Part of what you did was show up repeatedly in the same place, at approximately the same times. With approximately the same behavior, you became predictable. And predictability, in the risk calculus of a feral cat, is one of the most valuable things you offer. There is a third layer to the selection process that complicates the clean behavioral explanation considerably. Cats' red faces. A 2019 study tested whether cats could distinguish between human emotional expressions, and if those influenced behavior. Cats demonstrated a clear behavioral preference for humans displaying positive, relaxed, or slightly smiling facial expressions. Cats who lived with humans showed a stronger version of this preference, suggesting it develops through learning. The cat observing you from under a parked car is not just reading your posture and your movement. It is reading your face and assessing your emotional state through visual cues before its approach. When a feral cat makes its first move toward you, it has integrated weeks of observation. It has combined threat assessments, a consistency profile, and a facial read into a single decision. That decision is not impulsive. It is the output of a sustained evaluation most people never realize. And once the decision is made, the process of what researchers call social bonding initiation begins. This is the part most people experience as the cat suddenly becoming friendly. What it actually is the cat extending its social framework to include a human. The cat is not becoming friendly. It is reclassifying you. Feral cats maintain a strict distinction between their social world and their environment. Colony members fall inside the boundary, and everything else falls outside. The boundary is enforced through behavior and what the cat will not do. When a cat approaches, follows, or allows touch, it is not simply relaxing. It is moving that human across a categorical boundary. It almost never moves anything across. It is an act of cognitive reclassification that is significant to a feral cat. The slow blink you may have exchanged with a stray is part of this. Research confirms the slow blink functions as an affiliative signal of non-threat. When a cat slow blinks at you, it uses the signal for trusted colony members. When it accepts a blink in return, something has shifted in your status. You have been moved inside the boundary. That is not a small thing for an animal whose survival depends on threats. Choosing to reclassify a human is a decision with real biological stakes. If the cat gets it wrong, the consequences can be fatal. The cat that chose you did not do so casually. It did so after a sustained, demanding evaluation that concluded you are worth the risk. The stray that followed you home made a considered decision about you first. It watched you, it assessed you, and it tested you without your knowledge. And then it chose you. The question is not why the cat picked you, but what you did. What did you do across all those days that made you worth picking? Tell me in the comments. Have you ever been chosen by a stray cat? What was the moment you realized it had decided on you? I want to hear about it. I read everyone, and I will see you next time.